Hey guys, Full Manager HD here, and as you can see, it is me. Probably the first time for almost all of you of seeing my face in the flesh, and possibly this could be something I do a little bit more often on the channel. I'm trying to kind of think of different things I can do to maybe increase the popularity without just solely going down kind of the FM route of things, because at the moment I'm enjoying playing the game, except like the problem I have is the actual making of the videos and the time consumption of making those videos. And I feel that if I can do something a little bit not more straightforward but a little bit more kind of interactive, that it could be a lot funner and a lot more fun. And I'm looking to maybe discuss more kind of proper football issues, not issues, but like stuff like that, you know, transfers, gossip, stuff like that from the Premier League, from other leagues, especially the League of Ireland, in fact, because that's what this episode will be about, is kind of the League of Ireland. Because as most of you probably know, I am Irish. I do support Shamrock Rovers in the Airtricity Premier Division, which is the Irish version of the Barclays Premier League, and it's really it's a forgotten league. It's a league that not only most English people or European people wouldn't know of, but a league that most Irish people wouldn't know of and wouldn't really take note of. And that's the thing that irritates me, as a guy growing up. Like, I've gotten into it through my dad, and we're both season ticket holders, but it's just not a... I suppose we've kind of gotten engrossed into it, and to be fair, a small amount of people in Ireland do. It's a bit like, I take it for people like English, for English people, I'll give you an example. It would be like supporting a League Two club, for some, a League Two / conference club. Teams that aren't very good. The standard isn't that high. Rovers, probably Shamrock Rovers, that is, who would be probably the most reputable club, I'd say, without being even biased. I think it is probably would have the biggest fan base, and like we'd have on average now maybe 3,000 per game, maybe 4, with if things were going really well, to be able to push it up to maybe 6 or 7. But the majority of clubs are probably bringing in around 1,500. Actually, the one exception to that is actually Cork City. And Cork is right at the south of Ireland. They've got a nice stadium called Turner's Cross, and they're kind of mad keen down there for Cork City. So like they actually bring in... They could actually bring in maybe 4,000 or 5,000 per game, but wouldn't have much more room for scope, I don't think. As for Rovers, would have a lot more room, as was shown. Probably the most reputable, well, certainly the most reputable kind of run League of Ireland club went on was in Europe. Was Shamrock Rovers got into the Europa League group stage 4 years ago. I think it was 2011 group stage, where they played. They're done in a group with Tottenham Hotspur, Rubin Kazan, and PAOK Salonika. We didn't get a point from the 6 games, but we put in some kind of valiant efforts, especially away from home. We only lost 3-1 at White Hart Lane, 2-1 in Greece against Salonika, and I think it was 4-1 in Kazan, which probably wasn't the best, but it got all pretty reputable performances. And at that stage, we were kind of selling out our ground, Tallaght Stadium, which fits around maybe 6,500. But you felt we even had more room for scope. But that's the exception to it all, unfortunately. That's the thing you've got to come to terms with in the league, which is hard, supporting football, and you're kind of so engrossed in it, and really there's so little amount of people, kind of considering the amount of people who supposedly kind of support football or play football in Ireland. Football is probably one of the most popular sports. You've got football, rugby, and then you've got the 2 home sports, GAA or what's GAA is the overall thing, Gaelic football and hurling, which some of you might have seen because they've now introduced a bit of that on Sky Sports. And I already know from speaking to some English people that they think hurling is fantastic crack, because it's just guys walking or kind of running around madly with sticks and smashing each other. And like, they're high entertaining games, but those two, like the Irish sports, the hurling and the Gaelic football, plus the rugby are well up there. Like if you know a lot about rugby, you know that Leinster and Munster, are quite well up in kind of the European stature. And Ireland is certainly no mug of an international team in rugby. But at the moment, the Irish national team is going through a big dip at the moment. We've gone sinking down the rankings, and it's depressing to see when you see kind of sister nations to ourselves like Wales and Belgium. Oh, Belgium? Wales and Scotland. Don't know where Belgium came, because Wales beat Belgium maybe. But Wales and Scotland, and even Northern Ireland, are kind of going up the rankings. And you're kind of thinking, there's not much different to us. Like, we're always going to be, we don't have the same level of people as England. And we don't really even have the same amount of people as Scotland or Wales. But you feel we can be putting in kind of similar enough performances. Like, I know, like the big reason why, or one of the big reasons why Wales are suddenly coming to good results and going up in the rankings is because they've two star players. They've got Gareth Bale and they've got Aaron Ramsey, and they've been able to kind of construct a team around those two guys. And I think they've been very good, and to be fair, Bale has been very good as well, I think, as an individual, because I'm not the biggest fan of Bale, I'm not going to lie, but I think he's been good with Wales. Like, he does play for them. He doesn't turn it down on the whole. Like, he quite likes playing. He plays for the nation. He plays for the kind of the pride and all this. And I think that's good to see. And the same with Ramsey, considering they're such world-class footballers, that they, even though they're at Wales, which wouldn't be the most reputable football country, really put it in for them. But as we see the kind of rise of Wales, we're seeing the complete downward spiral of Republic of Ireland football. And I do think some of that is due to players just not performing at international football. Like, we do have some, like, our so-called star players are, let's say 2 or 3, are Seamus Coleman, James McCarthy, and even still kind of Robbie Keane. Robbie Keane, even though it pains me to say it because the guy is ancient, he can barely move anymore, he's the only guy at the moment who really has an eye for a goal. Shane Long's a decent footballer, but doesn't have a real kind of goal scorer's instinct. And people like Coleman and McCarthy really underwhelm me at international level. Considering they're kind of good, really good Premier League players and should be kind of quite influential, and they really aren't. Coleman is very ropey defensively. Now, I'm not sure, because of course I watch every Ireland game. I don't watch every Everton game. So I don't know whether week in, week out, maybe Coleman just overall is a bit ropey defensively. Like, I know he makes up for it most of the time with his attacking intent. But, you're not getting that solidity, and you're not getting the best out of your star players. And that's seeing kind of a rapid decrease in our ranking, and really in the quality of football we're playing. And I think it's taken an even further hit to the League of Ireland. That was the whole point of it. Like, even when Ireland weren't that bad internationally, like the league didn't get much in terms of kind of funding, but at the moment, like the league is, Ireland are kind of shooting themselves in the foot, really, I think. Irish football could be something. When you see kind of almost these fairy tale stories. Well, not fairy tale stories, but like in Germany and like in the Netherlands or Holland or whatever you want to call them. Where they've kind of put in an awful lot of money at grassroots level. And I've been reading a lot about it because I love the idea of it, and I think it's, as you can see, it's really reaping the benefits, especially for Germany, where you see the Bundesliga is such a competitive league. Like, apart from Bayern, unfortunately, Bayern kind of ruin it, because I think it's going to Bayern, and then the 17 other teams are actually quite well matched, as usually seen from the league table being quite compact. Apart from maybe a few at the top, including Schalke and that. But I hear that's because, though, that an awful lot of these teams have superb academy structures. And I suppose, you see that, and you see even in Holland with your Ajaxes and PSV Eindhovens and Vitesses and these sort of places, and they've got stunning youth facilities. And they've really built it up, and so they can produce. And I think, Ireland could be in a position to do that. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to. They've got the money, I think. Like, we're not floating in money, but we're not strapped for cash either. And they've got to realise, if the future of Irish international football is to be good, you've got to start pumping more money into the grassroots in Ireland. Not hoping, obviously, when people go away to England or something, it's probably a better, especially if they get a move to a big club, in the Premier League or the Championship. It's good for them, but you need to be able to produce, not produce more, that's obviously, you're not going to stumble across Ronaldo just by pumping more money in, that's not guaranteed, but you can get better out of people with better training, and I see it over here even in kind of club football, really lower, like Sunday League football, but for kids, kind of Sunday League youth teams, and there's no kind of qualified coaches. It's just all, kick it up the field, everybody go run after it. There's no structure to Irish football at the moment. And it really concerns me, because I think at the moment, in the next 10 years or so, I don't see anything changing. I really don't. Because there's nobody coming through that I can note of. The only guy coming through is Jack Grealish. He's going to play for England. I've no doubt about that he's just going to say, because he is. I think he is English. He was born in England, in Birmingham. I'm not positive about that, but that everything else in his family is Irish. But you're kind of thinking, really, there should be more of them. There should be more Grealishes. There should be 3 or 4 of them, coming through at one time, not just one. Because unfortunately, if there's only one, it's much easier for one to just go to England, as they've got some sort of connection. It's much easier one than kind of England taking all 4 or something. But there's no structure, and the league is struggling, and the country is struggling, and it kind of feels with the way the league gets treated, because the league gets no money. I give you a comparison, or not a comparison, but kind of an idea of kind of how little money is. If you win the Irish Premier Division, which is a 34 game season, 33 game season, so, a few less than the Premier League, you win 50 grand to the team. The team gets 50 grand. Now, that's, for some Premier League clubs, that's the average wage of player per week. And you're getting it for a full season. The standard wage over in Ireland is probably 300 quid a week. Now, there's a few guys that are given £1,000 a week. But that is, you're kind of bursting the bank for those sort of guys. And I really do think it's ludicrous. And I don't really know, obviously, an easy way to, not solve it, because there's no guarantees, but to help it is to give it a bit more money. But I don't see that happening. Which means I think the future of Irish football is in is in jeopardy at the moment, I think, because I think there's going to come to a stage where they're going to realise, and actually nobody's really coming through, because it's not like we're not kind of a gift. We're not like an Argentina or Brazil or something that, you know, gifted players just constantly come through the system. You know, we're not a big enough country for that, and like people like that aren't going to just kind of appear out of thin air. You know, you got to give them a chance at the age of 6 or 7. You know, make sure they're learning the right things. Instead, you know, we're teaching them shit, and they're turning out to be shit. And as it's kind of building its way up, because, you know, the youth stuff at club level, you know, at international level, of course, it's taken seriously, but at club level, on the whole, it's being treated poorly, and it's kind of at League of Ireland level, it's treated like absolute shit, and then it's really coming through that, you know, at international level, we're not producing any sort of results. I don't know whether there is any connection. I don't think there's much, because of course there's not League of Ireland player. No League of Ireland player is playing international football. But I do think that the country the FAI need to kind of rethink kind of strategies almost, and look at it and think, actually, we need to do something here. Otherwise it's just the next 10-15 years are just going to kind of dwindle along without anything happening. And I'd hate to see that happen to Irish football, because I do think there's something there, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be doing what Wales are doing right now and be suddenly in the top 10 of the world rankings. Instead, we're 60-something, 62nd or something. Just not good enough. Anyway, that concludes kind of this episode, which has been something a little bit different. I kind of went on to a whole number of subjects there, kind of including the League of Ireland and kind of the whole Irish football pyramid, I suppose, and my concerns about it. If you guys enjoyed this video and enjoyed possibly this sort of take, now not necessarily this like about Irish football, it could be about, like, I'd be probably doing more about the Premier League, because it's just a little bit more popular and people know the players more and all this. And I do plan to do stuff, a few bits about Villa in terms of kind of the new season, but I'm kind of waiting, because at the moment there's a few guys, like obviously Delph and Benteke have left. Benteke, I think, this is just quickly, Benteke, I think we've got a really good deal. Delph, I don't want to say anything about Delph, because I'll go on for ages about it. But there are a few guys kind of in the air about possibly moving. If they actually do move, I'll probably do an episode, or I'll do a video, because then there'll be more to talk about. Because at the moment there's not much, you know, kind of, because it's been a month since Richards and Sinclair have signed, so there's not much going on. But if these guys, the bids are being made and contracts are being offered, if they kind of come through, then we might be in business. And then I'll be doing a video probably closer to when the season starts, about kind of a preview of Villa's and possibly the whole Premier League season, and how it may turn out. Anyway, as always, if you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see extra content. And as always, have a nice day.